Welcome, MotoAmerica fans, to this latest edition of Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. I am Bice, and I'm joined by our communications manager, Paul Carruthers, and below us, and only on the screen, but never below us in any other way, is two-time Stock 1000 champion Andrew Lee, who is returning to the paddock. The prodigal son comes back. I mean, we've been trying to get him to come back here for a while, and he's making it happen this year. He's with Motorsport Exotica on a BMW M1000RR. So he's put away the Kawasaki ZX-10R for a while, and he's going to debut at Barber Motorsports Park our next round, and it'll be in the Stock 1000 class. And Andrew, welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Sean, it's funny because, like, I never know when this guy's going to show up, right? I mean, we'll see the entry list, but it's like, oh, he's gone for 5 years. He comes back for a race or two, then he takes off again. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, he's got to be like 32 or 33 years old, right?
Still a young and still a kid.
He's 25. Like, he could be starting his career right now and he'd be fine.
Yeah.
And now he'll make grandpa jokes, but I'm being serious. It's like you assume he's older than he is because of how long he's been around.
Yeah, it's amazing. No, in fact, I think Josh Hayes started his career when he was 25. So
right, yeah.
Yeah. So Andrew, welcome back. I need to be clear on something, because sometimes this is hard to follow. And I go through the entry list. So, we have Superbike Cup riders and we have Stock 1000 riders. You are only pursuing Stock 1000, correct?
Yeah, so I'm going to do the Stock 1000 Championship, and then the rounds that Stock 1000 is at, I'll do Superbike Cup, but I won't be doing any further rounds.
Okay, so you will be racing in Superbike at Barber then?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
If you're there.
You've got a Stock 1000 spec bike. I mean, it doesn't have the big clamps, the swing arm, the forks, any of that kind of stuff.
No, we're going old school.
But that bike is pretty formidable just as a stock bike anyway. I mean, it's a really good bike to ride on. It's an interesting change for you. Like I say, I mean, you were aligned with Derek Keyes for a long time and raced Kawasaki's in both super sport class, in AFM and in our series but now you've switched all over to the Bavarian Motor Works. So that's cool.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. I spent a lot of years on Cowies. I think I made the change at the end of 2017, and up until this year, that's kind of been the main bike that I've rode is the Cowie. I did have a little stint on a little bit of a bagger, but
that's right. Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, a little unorthodox but
sorry about that.
No, and then I did fill in for Gilbert on the Gixxer.
Yeah, that's right.
Did the one round with Altus last year on a Gixxer. So, now I'm trying the BMW. It's a little different. It's fun. I enjoy like kind of relearning a motorcycle because, after so many years on the same platform, you kind of you wake up and you already know what the bike's going to do. And now, you just kind of got to relearn that.
So what bike is it that you race like in the off season at Chuckwalla?
The ZX-10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you did pretty much a full season for CVMA, am I right?
Yeah, I did. I think I did like 4 rounds. I missed the first round and then the final 2 once I got the Motorsport Exotica deal. I didn't do those ones, but we did a lot of time on that thing, and it's funny because there's some issues with the bike that a lot of people have heard about, and people, I guess I'm like the ZX-10 troubleshooter. I get texts like, "Hey, so like, did you figure that problem out?" I was like, "I'm having no problem. I'm just riding the thing, and it seems to work fine."
You can charge them for any advice, right?
Yeah, I'm billable by the hour, 5-hour minimum.
So, go ahead, Paul.
No, you go, Sean.
Well, I was just going to say, it's a little tough to say the bikes are similar, but I'm going to say the ZX-10 and the M1000 are both inline 4s. that got that kind of sound and ability to them. With Kawasaki's known to have quite a bit of top end, but certainly the BMW does. Do the two bikes seem similar to you at all?
Yeah, totally. I think that, I mean, I haven't rode all of the bikes, obviously, but I think in the day and age that we're in now, there isn't like a big discrepancy in motorcycle, to the terms of, oh, I can't ride X bike because it doesn't do the thing. So the Cowie and the BMW are pretty aligned with the characteristics. With the variable is the electronics. I feel like the electronics on the BMW are bad, like have a lot more potential than the Cowie does. So that's kind of been a fun thing for me to learn, is because I feel like I've been pretty in my time racing. I don't think I've done a lot with the electronics. I kind of just ride the motorcycle, and now we're able to kind of dial some things in with the electronics, which has kind of opened up some doors and avenues for me riding wise.
What's
But
the,
don't worry, I'm still not getting off the bike. I have the most boring riding style, and that has not changed.
hey,
Oh,
whatever
no,
works,
that's okay.
right?
Whatever. Exactly. No, exactly.
You don't work in a magazine, so the photos don't have to look good.
Right.
Yeah, right.
What with the electronics, the hard part just figuring out, like, obviously you don't want it to work too much, right? So you're trying to find that compromise. Is that really the most difficult part?
Totally. Yeah. There's a lot of trying to figure out what is too much, if it's pulling you back on straightaways and stuff. And that's kind of, we've played a lot around with that and trying to have it be free enough for where it doesn't interrupt the drive and stuff. So just kind of working on stuff like that has been, yeah, it's like the balance, right?
So when, as a casual race fan sitting in a corner, when he hears that, that's not necessarily a good thing, right? That guy needs to back it off a little bit.
Yeah. Or it's the end of the race and the tire's shot. So
Right.
there's that. Yeah. So yeah,
Right.
you don't want too much intervention, but you want enough to where, I mean, if you go watch World Superbike and stuff like that, or even the Attack Boys, and there's some TC on those things, and it kind of makes the riding portion a little bit. You can concentrate more on what's at hand sometimes when you have the intervention,
Mhm.
and it's less in your right wrist. It used to be all in your right wrist. Now you can kind of take some of it out and have the computer help you.
But you also have to get to that point where you have enough trust to just, right? And
Yeah.
instead of, normally you're modulating the throttle and you're traction control yourself, right? But these guys are just like that and hoping it works.
Yeah, totally. It's I kind of they were giving me crap. They're like, stop trying to modulate, like just get on it. I'm like,
No.
what are you telling me to do? And so I always think back of that Danny Pedrosa crash at Aragon when he got clipped from behind
Yeah.
and lost the speed sensor, and he just goes to get on the throttle and just high sides himself.
Oh yeah.
I always
Yeah.
think of that. I always think of that. I'm like, I don't know, boys, that's kind of nervy.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I always say that it's like so hard to trust in something that you can't see, an electronic intervention like that it's always going to work the way you think it. You have to put a lot of trust in the whole thing. But the thing about you, Andrew, is you're not a crasher. I mean, you have not really gone down too much in your career. You've had a couple ones where I know you had that finger issue several years ago, but I don't think of you. I think of you as being a smooth rider that doesn't wad bikes very often. Is that pretty accurate?
I'd like to think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I've saved on bodywork for quite a few years, I think. So, yeah, I think that the for me, I've tried to know limits and try to build the bike around the limits that I do have. And understanding when to push or where to push has kind of kept me off the ground for the most part. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things where sometimes it happens, but yeah, it's hopefully the electronics keep it from happening.
So Sean, I was looking it up this morning, and I knew for a long time Michael was like the all-time winningest stock 1000 rider. but it turns out now he's second, but he's only one behind Corey Alexander, and he's tied for Hayden Gillum. So, you know, the next race he wins, he's back tied for that all-time lead. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Wait, you mean, did you say Michael, or you're saying, are you?
Oh, did I call him Michael?
Yeah, you said Michael.
Yeah, wow, come on, man. Grandpa, let's go. Dude.
I know
Come
you
on,
sound like
doing?
Gilbert, but you definitely don't
You
look
said,
like
you
him.
said you
No,
had 2 cups of coffee. This is me starting. I'm starting, and
I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to call you out, Paul. I didn't
thanks for calling me
understand.
out. Look, now I'm embarrassed.
See, I didn't want to do that to you, you
No,
know?
no. So Corey Alexander has 12. Andrew Lee has 11. And
that's pretty
Daniel
good.
Gillum has 11. And I don't know what Gilbert has.
Okay. That's pretty good for not being involved for a while. I mean,
That's exactly right.
You get right back into it. So here's the big question, Andrew Lee. You're coming into Barber, a track that you know. There are 46 entrants, and there is no time. There's 6 classes there. There is no time to do an A and a B. So you guys are all going to be out there. From what I understand, that track, it can only handle 36 bikes in a race. So it's going to be crazy during the practice sessions. There's obviously a cutoff. At least 10 guys are not going to make the show. We're assuming you're going to make the show, but considering all of that,
it doesn't sound like you're confident in me being top 36 after that last stat. I feel like I should be at least, in that top 36. Sean, what are you telling me?
Sean,
no,
he'd rather you call him Michael than say that.
Listen, I'm confident. I am confident you're going to be in the 36. But what I wanted to say is, within that 36, do you have any expectations, or are you going in not really knowing, because it's been a couple of years? And Stock 1000 has kind of advanced a lot in the past couple of years. It's legitimate now for sure.
Yeah. I don't have, every rider has the same expectation that I do. I wouldn't grid up if I don't think I can win.
Yeah.
But that said, it's just one of those things where we're going to get on track and we're going to see where we're at. And if we're better than we expected, great. If we're not as good as we expected, great. And just kind of build from there. I think that, like I said, I could probably name 10 other people on that grid right now that thinks they're going to go to Barber and win. So
yeah,
I just want to be one of those guys that can legitimately do it.
Yeah.
Now, you told us before we started that you have done some testing on the bike, and recently, like yesterday, right?
Yeah. So I had a 2-day test at Podium Club. Wednesday, Thursday, and so I'd never been there before. It was a really cool track. It was a little warm and toasty, and definitely like Arizona. So nothing to be surprised about that. But we did 2 days there, and we had a couple other days on the bike. So I think I finally kind of got down to a good base setup that I feel comfortable with. So going into Barber, I'm actually at the peak of what I feel on the bike so far. So I think that we're going to be doing pretty good.
Is Barber a track you like?
Yeah, I think all the tracks that we go to this year, I enjoy, minus New Jersey. And I love the layout of Jersey. Every time we go there, the time of year we go, it's cold, it's wet. I'm like, man, it's without fail. We go there.
It's going to rain 100%.
Yeah.
So, and talk about for a Stock 1000, that's our last race. That's going to be a stressful weekend if the championship's still on the table there, and it's a rain race. I mean, it's like the King of the Baggers 2 years ago or last year,
right?
When the championship came down to the rain race at Jersey. It's a stressful weekend.
Yeah. Twins Cup guys had the same thing. It's all, it always comes down to there, and it always has some kind of bad weather. But
and that track has been resurfaced, so you got a brand new track
that'll make it better though.
Right.
Yeah,
it'll help. It'll help.
Gets rid of some bumps and stuff.
Have you been on Barber's track since they resurfaced that?
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't remember.
I think they resurfaced it in 19, right?
I can't remember what
year.
Been that
long?
I believe.
I didn't know it was that long. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was only a couple years ago.
I raced Michael Gilbert. We were battling for the win that year, and that was the year that like Tony Elias went through like the fast flick back going on in the back straightaway and high sided and burned down a bike. There was a ton of people that crashed on the rear tire that year, and when I passed Michael Gilbert going down into the final chicane, I lost the rear on the right. So I remember that.
Okay.
Yeah, you would.
I guess. Yeah. I guess
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess I'm thinking of Road America more recently has been paved. So
Right. Yeah. I
that
haven't rode
one.
there.
Yeah. But
But
when you
Stock
rate,
1000 doesn't go there.
right,
Oh,
right.
That's what
And
I was going to ask you about real quick.
which
It's
is
like
odd.
there's a
Yeah.
lot. There's some complaints about the fact that Stock 1000 doesn't race as much as the other classes. And, it's all about the schedule. And I mean, I can't imagine even trying to put together that schedule with the amount of classes and track time you're trying to get everybody, et cetera. But in some ways, I would think for a smaller team with a less budget, having less races might not be the end of the world. Where do you stand on that? You obviously, as a racer, want to race as much as you can, but from spending money, it might help some smaller teams.
yeah. I mean, I ran my own program in 2018 and 2019, so I understand kind of logistics portion of it. Uh, the missing out on a few rounds, I totally understand. But when you have 2 rounds on the West Coast and then 2 months off and then go to New Jersey, I feel like at that point you void any logistical benefits that you have, because now you have to travel from the West Coast all the way to New Jersey. So any benefits that we did have, we might as well have gone to Mid Ohio or gone to Road America, because we're already over there, right? Our trailers, we go to Barber, then Brainerd, then the Ridge, Laguna, New Jersey. Between that stuff, we're already having our trailer on one side of the country, having another round over there. It's just flights at that point. So I think that the little bit of a break between Laguna and Jersey for Stock 1000 is almost a negative, in my opinion, because then you had to truck across the country 2 months later.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And there's a lot of teams in California.
Right.
So, but yeah, for me, I guess it doesn't really matter. We're on the racetrack. My opinions don't matter until Friday practice 1.
True.
I want more front end feel. That really
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah. So tell us about your team. So we know Jared Fixler is the owner of the team, but what's the crew? Who is your crew chief?
So Jared's the crew chief. I have Jack Backen, who actually he used to race. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He's a West Coast guy.
I do remember him.
S1000s.
Yeah.
He's kind of the assistant chief and then data guy and electronics. And honestly, like, I've really enjoyed working with him. I feel like a lot of people sit behind the computer and don't really know what they're doing. They just have a prop, and Jack does really know what he's doing. So I enjoy being able to work alongside of him with that. And then I have Jacob Eldridge as my lead tech, and his nickname's Waffle. So so everyone, my boy Waffle is working on the bike, and it's, as a rider too, it's one of those things where I love working with a good tech, because there's been people I've worked with in the past where, like, hey, did you check tire pressure? Hey, did you do X, Y, and Z? And as a rider, it's something you don't really want to think about. And with him, I just know. I know he did everything on his checklist. I know the bike's gonna run good, and so that's good. And so they're kind of my technical team, and then Josh Merrill's coming on, I think, to kind of help be an extra hand and help Waffle on the bikes and kind of do some stuff behind the scenes. So I think it's a small outfit, but we have good people in the corner, and then we have Steve Weir as some technical support as well.
I was going to ask you, sorry, Paul, I was going to ask about Steve Weir. I was getting to that. I mean, I wasn't trying to take anything away from Jack Backen, but Steve, I know, is involved with a lot of the teams with the BMW from BMW's point of view. So that's good that he's going to be working with you too. That helps.
Do we know how a guy gets the name Waffle?
We do know how.
Is it something you can tell?
Well, I could tell it. It's just I'm going to butcher the story. He used to skateboard a lot back in the day. And so in his skating group, that he's just got the name Waffle for some reason. So obviously that was a complete butchering of the story. But there's But the funny thing is, his Instagram tag is Waffle House.
Oh, that's good.
And so, but he doesn't have it's at Waffle House. And he was telling me the other day that Waffle House has blocked him on everything. because they try to get his username, and he's like, "You guys aren't getting my username."
Yeah, you think he could make some money with getting rid of it?
You would think, yeah, but now he's blocked, so I guess it doesn't really matter.
I get it. Yeah, that's funny.
That's really,
we learned something today, Sean.
Yeah, that's good. So, Andrew, I always have thought of you as being a pretty technically adept rider yourself. I mean, some riders just ride the bike, but I think you kind of know a little bit more about what the bike is doing and are able to do that. And I'm going to tell a story, and I'm not going to name names. But there was a year, I know, that you had something wrong with one of your bikes, unnamed. Something wasn't right. They kept saying it wasn't, and you had a bent frame on that motorcycle. You knew something wasn't right, and you tried to tell them. So you got a team around you this year that if you tell them something's not right, they're going to know, they're going to go and look at it, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I have good awareness of my motorcycle, and I'm not going to go in there and tell them, "Hey, I need a quicker rebound," or I obviously leave that to the technical team. But yeah, if there's something wrong, I can typically spot it out and kind of send them in that direction, and I'm usually in the ballpark. So obviously not as good as Bryce Prince. The guy could build a bike and then go race it. So
yeah, and he's going to. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not many people, you wouldn't want to race a bike that I built. Sean could probably build a bike.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to race it either, though. There's no way. Yeah. That's funny about Bryce, man. He's got, they said they got 3 riders, but I think Bryce is racing as well. So it's a 4-rider squad. That's a big team.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool. I've known Bryce for a while too.
Right.
So to see him kind of come out, and I mean, he bought a dealership a few years ago, and he's just kind of been the bike guy. People with Yamahas on the West Coast, they have a BPR bike. So
yeah,
now he's got a race team going for the year, and I think I think it's really cool.
Yeah, and he's like Andrew, like he shows up every once in a while, and when he does, he's on the podium. Was it Laguna last year or the year before?
Yes. I think it was both years. Yeah.
I didn't even know he was still active in it. And Andrew, that brings me to a question. Like, okay, since you don't always know what you're doing, you're not always racing. Do you attack each day like you're still ready to go and you're still like you train and all that stuff like you are racing all the time?
Yeah. I always talk about, and I made a post about this probably last year, where at the beginning of my career, I trained because I had to race. I would wake up and go through my process because I knew next week I had a race, and that's why I trained. But now I train because I enjoy training. I enjoy, eating well and having like all the benefits of training every day for me is what I enjoy. So if I got a call tomorrow to go race, I could do it, which is a positive. But also I'm healthier and I wake up with energy, and stuff's more important than being ready for Barber round 1. So if I go through life in a physical, like, good shape, whenever there's an opportunity that comes up, I'm going to be ready.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember talking to John Kaczynski after he was done racing, and he's always been in good shape. And I always ask, like, you training for something? And he said, yeah, I'm training for life. So
that's kind of cool.
It's a pretty, if you can train for life, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And Andrew, your dad tells me that you're in the best shape you've ever been in your life. He said that last year, and he's saying that this year too. So it's cool that you can jump right back into the game and make it happen. So we don't have to worry about your fitness at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it's just to the point of being in shape is more important than, anything, in my opinion. You gotta be good. You gotta be healthy. So, racing kind of takes second to that, where I train for racing, obviously, but more so I just train for day-to-day life. So
yeah, it'll pay off when you get to Sean's age and my age.
Right.
Yeah, it'll help with my
Grandpa
golf swing, which is really the most important thing, right?
That's right.
Golf game dialed in and getting some flexibility there.
I really wish golf had like the same benefits as running.
Right? Yeah.
You have to run from hole to hole. That's
right.
I'm filling out a petition for that, Paul. I'm filling out a petition. I saw it on Instagram, where golf fitness, so we're filled out that petition.
Good.
So Andrew, I got a couple questions for you. I I think I know what the deal is on this, but I haven't been clear. The entry list still lists you as Clovis, California, but you're not there. You've been living in Nevada. I think it's around Reno or something. Tell us about Nevada, what you're doing, why you're in Nevada and not in California anymore.
Well, I was in Nevada.
Oh,
Recently that changed. Yeah, so now I'm in
okay.
California again. But
Okay.
yeah, so for Nevada, I was there since 2017. And the thing for me with Nevada was I moved there for work in 2017. I was kind of ready to take a step away from racing because I mean, I was getting old. I was 18 years old and nothing was really going well for me. And I just kind of I accepted it and then got a job up there. And then in 2018, I accidentally won a championship and I was like, okay, well, maybe I could still do this thing. And then so at that point, I just kind of stayed there. And some of the benefits for me were I was able to go ride dirt bikes whenever I wanted to. I I could start the bike in the morning and get my gear on from my house and then go ride from my door.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of what kept me there all the way up until this year. So that was always I think that was the reason I stayed there mostly was the option of always riding my dirt bike. And so that's kind of another thing that keeps you in shape is being able to ride. I think bike fitness and general fitness is a little different. So being able to be on a bike and I mean, if you could do a 30-minute moto on a dirt bike, you can go do a 30-minute race on a road race bike. So
So
What?
that brings up an interesting point because a lot of guys use motocross bikes to train, and we've noticed, well, it seems to always happen, but some guys get hurt riding them, but they kind of think the risk reward is worth it. And you, as far as I know, you haven't had any injuries from riding the dirt bike, have you?
no, I started racing dirt bikes. That's where I kind of got my start in racing. And so I've been riding dirt bikes for 21 years and I've been pretty scot-free. So, I mean, granted, knock on wood, but yeah, I think that I just kind of I approach it as sets at the gym. Like, I could go ego lift in the gym and try to put 135 pounds overhead and do something stupid, or I can do what I know I can do
Right.
and just try to rep it out. And so for me, I just kind of use it as an exercise. Obviously, as a racer, I'm always like, oh, how can I get better? And but I understand that I'm using it as a tool and that there's no point hitting that jump if there's a square edge on it. So I
Right.
just kind of accept that and I just kind of use it as a rep. So
That's a good plan.
Hmm. Yeah, that is good. So you're back in California. Are you back close to where you grew up now, or are you south?
no, I'm south right now.
Okay.
I'm south for Chuck Walla coaching the season.
Okay, right.
I yeah, so I stay pretty close to that because I've got a lot going on, and then I kind of touched on my crazy schedule right now. So I spent 2 days in Podium Club this week, and then today I'm flying to Austria to go test my world endurance bike
Oh yeah, we got to talk about that.
because
Yes, we do.
yeah, so I know Pridmore kind of outed it on a podcast and now he's kind of posting about it a little bit, but where I got home at 2 in the morning and then got up right 7 o'clock to come do this podcast with you two lovely gentlemen, and then I have a flight at noon from LAX. So being in SoCal kind of helps with that. And I'm staying at
Yeah.
my friend Dave's house. I'm sitting on his couch right now doing this podcast and looking at a couple gear bags, getting ready to get loaded on the plane. So we got a cool little crew going out to Slovakia this week.
So
So
we're
tell
gonna
us about the deal.
yeah,
Yeah,
tell
tell
us
us what
about
that
that.
is. Yeah, what you're riding and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So the team is myself, Jason Pridmore, and Michael Gilbert.
Oh,
And it all came when we called Pridmore on his bluff, and he hated it. We're not convinced that he loves it yet, but we're going to force him to like it because he made a comment because he's been training a lot himself. He's like, oh well, maybe I'd be down to do another 24-hour Le Mans, and I had no racing plans. I was like, cool. And I start scrolling through the calendar. I was like, all right, it's this day. He's like, dang it, I can't do it. It's Road Atlanta. And I was like, shoot. okay, how about this one? He's like, I can't do that one either. And I was like, all right, how about Spa 8 hour? And he's like, huh, well, that's kind of in between weekends. And I was like, really? What are the odds of that? And so Michael Gilbert and I were like, we'll make it happen. He's like, yeah. I bet I could probably make that happen. We're like, do it right now. Text him, make it happen. And so we were like badgering him about it. And so he got connected to his old team that he raced for, I think in 2012 or 2013, Mako Yamaha.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so we're going to go out there and race for Mako on stock Yamaha R1s. So obviously none of us have been to Spa. Jason hasn't been to Spa. They didn't race there when he was racing. So I think it's a cool experience. Obviously we want to go there and do well. But we have so many cool guys coming with us. Simon Barrett and David Kolb, and we got some CVMA guys coming out, and Chad Williams. And so it's going to be a cool group. It's going to be a lot of people from the paddock are coming in. And I think now that Pridmore kind of outed it, there's probably going to be a little bit more of a group that goes over. And yeah, so I think it's going to be a cool journey. I raced Suzuka a few years ago, and
yes,
I think the World Endurance stuff is a blast. So to be able to go do it at Spa, I think everyone kind of knows Spa, and
cool.
understands how cool of a facility that is, and how famous it really is too. So
yeah, that's good news.
And that seat time is just priceless. I mean, to be able to get on a different bike, but a leader bike nonetheless. And to get laps like that is going to help you going into, as much as you do ride anyway with your instructing, all the riding you can get is better, obviously, right?
Yeah, totally. I was talking to somebody the other day about that, where I'm going to have a lot of laps at speed going into Barber, because I had two days this week, and then I have 3 days next week. And then I think I come home and I go straight to Chuckwalla, and then I'm coaching at Chuckwalla for 3 days, and then I'm home for 1 day, and then go straight to Barber. So I've got basically 8 days on a bike before Barber. So
yeah, that'll work.
So as if you're not busy enough, I think there's something else that we need to talk about. And we've come to one of the most important parts of this show, wherein I can talk to you about that nugget of a girlfriend you have, Mallory Dobbs.
Nugget,
100%. She's awesome. I love her. She's terrific. The moment I met her up at Ridge, I was like, wow, Andrew Lee, a couple of my favorite people getting together.
I think I finally got it to the point where she might like me again after I outed.
I heard the story. Yeah, Paul has an uphill battle on that one.
I did.
Fond of your writing capabilities, and I said, Paul is just doing his job. Like
when
he's doing his job.
Well, I outed her as our Mark Marquez, right? I mean, it wasn't the end. It wasn't the end of the world. She had a few tip overs, but yeah, I think she's okay with me now. It took a while.
Yeah. And you know what, Paul? I hope this helps you sleep at night. But I was an advocate of yours. It might have started an argument with her. So dating a racer, you got to walk the bounds, right? And maybe me picking your side on that argument wasn't the right. I slept on the couch, is what I'm getting at. Like,
well, I appreciate the support.
Yeah. So I was on Team Paul there, but yeah. So no, it's really cool. She's a great girl, but she's getting to do the World Endurance or World Championship stuff this year, and gets to travel and do some new things this year. And I think as a rider, that's going to make her better too. So, and she raced Super Sport and Hooligans last year. And yeah, I'm just a rider coach.
Yeah, but aren't you going with her too? So you're doing that as well, aren't you? Or has that changed since the endurance thing?
No, I'm missing 2 of her rounds. So
okay.
She's got 2 weekends that kind of coincide with what I'm doing. So she's racing Donington the same weekend that I race Laguna. And then she's racing at Mazzano the same weekend as Brainerd.
Okay. What's her first race?
It's Mazzano. Yeah.
Oh, so that you won't be for her first one. Yeah, that kind of sucks. The first one would have been nice to be there for.
Yeah, and so you know what? Luckily, she understands what I have going on.
Which is a lot. Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny because I always tell her it's just funny because some of the conversations that I have with her, like seeing people previously, I explain what I got going on, and it's just kind of like lands on deaf ears. And with her, she understands. I'm like, oh man, X, Y, and Z is happening. It's crazy, blah, blah, blah. She's like, yeah, it's happening for me too. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So we kind of share some of the same struggles in the sense of that. So it's kind of fun. And then it's also, you got to step back and realize it.
Yeah.
How open is she to listening to you? Like,
good question.
Sometimes you're even with like your kids, right? It's like the last person they want to listen to is you, and they'll listen to a coach of some sort. But in this situation, you're the coach and the boyfriend. Does that work, or is it difficult sometimes?
Yeah, it hasn't really been an issue. I also probably don't have the softest of delivery on some of the advice I give. And so more so it just maybe annoys her in a sense, because I'll say something, I'm like, wow, that's pretty harsh. But I work under the JP43 canopy, importantly, and she has done days with JP, and her and I have rode together in the past too. So some of the stuff that we talk about isn't outlandish to what has already been talked about. And I also try, like you said, it's the relationship of boyfriend and coach. So I try to walk the line, understanding that it might not land well with, if you don't ask me, I'm not going to tell you, kind of thing. So I try to stay in my own lane there sometimes.
Yeah, or you could end up doing a lot of couch time.
Yeah, a lot of couch time. Yeah. I haven't been downgraded to outside or in the garage yet, so I feel like I'm doing pretty well. I haven't got my progress report card yet, but we'll see when that comes in. Yeah.
No, it's funny because when we were at COTA, she sat right in front of us, and she was absolutely involved in all the MotoGP stuff, sitting with Maddie Patterson there, her team owner, and she was pretty involved in a lot of stuff. So she's had a pretty meteoric rise for showing up at a round at Ridge one year with us in MotoAmerica, and now she's racing internationally. That's impressive.
Yeah, I think she started racing or riding in 2017. So
yeah.
I mean, that was kind of the winter for me before I won the championship, and it's kind of funny that she's just started doing sport bike riding then, and that's kind of when I won my first championship, was right after that. So I think, kind of to Paul's point earlier, and I have a lot of experience, and it's just kind of funny when I talk to her about some things that I've done in my career, and I'm like, I've got a lot of time on a motorcycle. I've been riding 21 years. My first bike was when I was 4, and my first race, I think it was like 5 or 6, and my first pro race was when I was 12 at a supermoto race. And
wow.
So I've been around a little bit, and so I think some of the advice I have for her there is beneficial. I think I'm volunteering that as my opinion, and maybe she says otherwise, but Paul writes an article about it, maybe we'll have that conversation. We'll see.
Yeah, these kids today don't listen.
So she's gonna, I think her schedule works that she'll be racing at Ridge, and I can't I have to say, is Stock 1000 at Ridge? I think it is, isn't it? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, we're at the Ridge. Yeah, she is racing. Yeah.
So that's a round where you guys will both be racing and at the track together. That's cool that you're going to be able to do that.
Yeah. It'll be cool. Yeah. I think that
he doesn't sound so sure.
No, I mean, well, it's different. Like, she's racing hooligans. So I think that we've got so much going on. I've got 4 races that weekend. I'm probably not going to see her until we go back to the hotel and shower.
Right.
And so yeah, it's funny because, yeah, we're going to be at the same racetrack on the same days, but I probably won't see her at all.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. When you get to Barber, you're going to be doing 4 races. So, I mean, you're doing an endurance race before that. So it all fits in really well. 4 races probably isn't going to be bad for you, and you're going to be jumping right into it. So, I mean, you got to be excited about it, Andrew. I mean, it's a tough, this business is not an easy business to be involved in. And, we're just thrilled that you're back again.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I'm thrilled to be back. it's my stepping away from racing has never been by choice, and
Right.
the ability to be back and be under a good canopy, I think, is really, I'm really grateful for it. So yeah, I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah. Well, I guess, Paul, you want to let him
Yeah.
go? You can go
Well,
to the
yeah.
airport.
Yeah, he's got to go to the airport. We don't want to miss
Yeah.
his plane because of us. So
Yeah.
we will,
Yeah.
thanks for joining us, Andrew, and we will see you in what, a week and a half or so.
Yeah, it's crazy how fast that came up.
I know.
Yeah.
Seemed like a long
Absolutely.
ways away, and then it's not. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you keep preparing. Oh yeah, I've got 2 months. I've got 2 months. I've got
2 days.
2 days. What? Whoa. Just like that.
All
So,
right. Well, we'll have a safe trip, and again, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
thanks, guys. See you in a couple weeks.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Andrew.